June 22nd, 1944. The Berghof, Hitler's mountain retreat in the Bavarian Alps. The Führer walks into the morning briefing in an unusually good mood. 16 days ago, the Allies landed in Normandy. But Hitler isn't worried. He's certain this is a diversion. The real invasion will come at Calais, where General Patton's massive army is waiting to strike. German intelligence has been tracking Patton's forces for months. Radio intercepts, agent reports, aerial reconnaissance showing tanks and landing craft assembled across the English Channel from Calais. Everything points to Normandy being a feint designed to draw German reserves away from the real target. Hitler has kept his best panzer divisions near Calais, refusing to commit them to Normandy despite desperate requests from his commanders. Today's briefing should confirm his genius. Instead, over the next 2 hours, Hitler will hear a series of numbers and revelations that will shatter every assumption he holds about this war. He will leave this room a different man, though he will never admit it to anyone, perhaps not even to himself. Field Marshal Wilhelm Keitel, Chief of the German Armed Forces High Command, begins his report with visible reluctance. The Normandy beachhead has expanded, 50 miles wide, 15 miles deep. German counterattacks have failed to contain it, but these tactical details aren't what makes Keitel hesitate. It's the number he has to say next. 1 million Allied soldiers have landed in France since June 6th. Hitler processes this, 1 million men in 16 days. But then he asks the question that will begin his education. How many are British? 400,000, Keitel answers, and the rest? Americans. 600,000 Americans. The room falls silent. Hitler stares at the map. He had always conceived of this invasion as a British operation. Churchill's desperate gamble to open a second front before Britain collapsed from exhaustion. America was supposed to be a supporting player, providing supplies, perhaps some troops, but fundamentally following British leadership. The numbers on this table tell a different story. The Americans aren't supporting the British are supporting the Americans, and this is only the beginning of what Hitler will learn today. General Alfred Jodl, Chief of Operations, steps forward with an analysis that will turn Hitler's strategic worldview inside out. Britain, Jodl explains, is exhausted. 5 years of war have drained her. British manpower reserves are so depleted that the army is disbanding divisions just to provide replacements for others. British factories still produce weapons, but at reduced rates, increasingly dependent on American Lend-Lease supplies to fill gaps. Britain can maintain her current military effort. She cannot expand it. Every British soldier killed in France is a soldier who cannot be replaced. The United States, Jodl continues, is a different kind of enemy entirely. America is not exhausted. America is just hitting her stride. 1944 is the year American mobilization reaches its peak. 12 million men under arms, factories running 3 shifts. And here is the fact that should terrify every German officer in this room. American production is still increasing. Not plateauing, not declining, growing. Every month, America produces more planes, more tanks, more ships, more guns than the month before. Hitler interrupts. What about Calais? Where is Patton? The question hangs in the air. Admiral Georg Hansen, who replaced the disgraced Canaris as intelligence chief 4 months ago, now has to deliver news that will make him wish he had any other job in the Reich. The army in Calais doesn't exist. Patton's forces are phantoms. The radio traffic German intelligence intercepted was fake, broadcast by a handful of operators designed to simulate an entire army. The tanks spotted by reconnaissance aircraft were inflatable decoys. The agent reports were disinformation fed through double agents the British had turned years ago. Everything, every intercept, every photograph, every agent report was part of an elaborate Allied deception operation codenamed Fortitude. The main invasion wasn't coming at Calais. The main invasion already happened, at Normandy, 16 days ago. For 2 weeks, Hitler kept his best panzer divisions waiting for an attack that was never planned. For 2 weeks, German forces in Normandy fought without reinforcements that could have thrown the Allies back into the sea. For 2 weeks, the Allies built up their beachhead while German armour sat idle 100 miles away, guarding against ghosts. Hitler's rage erupts, screaming, accusations of treason and incompetence, demands for explanations. But the rage passes quickly, because Jodl places a stack of photographs on the table, aerial reconnaissance from Normandy. And what these images show is more frightening than any intelligence failure. The photographs show American supply operations on the Normandy beaches, cargo ships stretching to the horizon, trucks moving in endless columns, equipment stacked in quantities that German quartermasters would consider fantasy. But it's not fantasy. It's American industrial capacity made visible, and Jodl has numbers to match the images. On a typical day over Normandy, Allied aircraft fly more than 10,000 sorties. The Luftwaffe manages perhaps 100. German pilots who reach the battlefield encounter swarms of American fighters, P-47 Thunderbolts and P-51 Mustangs, flown by pilots who have trained for hundreds of hours in aircraft that America produces faster than Germany can shoot them down. The planes over Normandy aren't even America's main air effort. Other American aircraft are bombing German cities, others support operations in Italy, others fight Japan across the Pacific. Normandy is one front in a global war that America is fighting simultaneously on multiple continents. Albert Speer, the armaments minister, has brought production statistics that explain why Germany cannot win an industrial war against America. American aircraft factories will produce over 100,000 planes in 1944. Germany will produce 40,000. American shipyards will launch more tonnage than German submarines can sink. American ammunition production is so vast that American artillery can fire shells at rates German guns cannot match, because German shells are rationed. Hitler seizes on one number. German tank production, 19,000 vehicles, exceeds American tank production of 17,000. Surely this proves German industry can compete. Speer delivers the correction gently, but it lands like a blow. The German figure includes assault guns, tank destroyers, and self-propelled artillery. The American figure is tanks only. Add in American armoured cars, tank destroyers, and other combat vehicles, and the comparison isn't close. Moreover, Speer continues, American production is standardized. America builds one medium tank, the Sherman, in massive quantities. Every Sherman uses the same parts. Every Sherman requires the same training. Every Sherman can be repaired with components from any other Sherman. Germany builds Panthers, Tigers, Panzer IVs, and various assault guns, each requiring different parts, different training, different maintenance. German tanks may be superior individually, but German logistics cannot support them the way American logistics support Shermans. Field Marshal Hugo Spurler, commanding air forces in France, adds aviation statistics that reinforce the picture. 70% of Allied aircraft over Normandy are American. The heavy bombers destroying French railways and German positions are American B-17S and B-24s. The fighters are American. The transport planes are American. British aircraft participate certainly, but American air power is the dominant force. And American pilot training programs produce new aviators faster than combat consumes them. German pilots, by contrast, are rushed through abbreviated training because fuel shortages have cut flight instruction hours. The skill gap is narrowing even as the numbers gap widens. Admiral Theodor Kranke, commanding German naval forces in the West, reports that the invasion fleet contains thousands of vessels built primarily in American shipyards. The Liberty ships delivering supplies are American. The landing craft are American. The escort carriers providing air cover are American. The Kriegsmarine has been unable to interfere with this armada. German surface ships cannot leave port. U-boats achieve minimal success against invasion shipping and are being hunted to destruction. German naval power, which once threatened to starve Britain into submission, is now irrelevant against an enemy who builds ships faster than submarines can sink them. Hitler's questions become defensive. What about German technical superiority? Tigers are better than Shermans. German machine guns outperform American equivalents. German tactics are more sophisticated. Speer acknowledges these advantages and explains why they don't matter. A Tiger may be superior to a Sherman, but when 5 Shermans attack simultaneously while fighter bombers strike from above, the Tiger's technical advantages become irrelevant. Quality matters, but quantity has a quality all its own when the disparity is this large. The Americans may have entered the war with inferior equipment, but they learn fast. Shermans are receiving better guns. American artillery incorporates German innovations. American tactics evolve based on combat experience. The gap that existed in North Africa has narrowed dramatically, and the gap in numbers grows every day. General Friedrich Fromm delivers the manpower assessment. German reserves are exhausted. Conscription extends to older men and younger teenagers. Foreign workers fill gaps in the Wehrmacht. But these measures cannot offset basic demographics. Germany's population is smaller than her enemies' combined populations. America alone has 135 million people. Add Britain, the Soviet Union, and other allied nations, and Germany is outnumbered 4-1. Every German soldier lost is difficult to replace. Every American casualty is replaced from reserves that seem endless. The mathematics are inexorable. Hitler grasps for alternatives. The V-weapons. The V-1 flying bombs now striking London. If British morale breaks, if the terror becomes unbearable, perhaps Churchill's government falls. Perhaps a new government negotiates peace. Knock Britain out of the war, and the strategic picture changes completely. Jodel's response is quiet but devastating. Even if Britain somehow withdrew from the war, the Americans would continue fighting. The invasion of France is an American operation that could proceed without British participation. American industrial capacity sustains Soviet forces through Lend-Lease. American forces simultaneously fight Japan across the Pacific. Britain's withdrawal would hurt the Allies. It would not stop them. This is the fundamental shift Hitler must confront. In the last war, Germany fought Britain primarily, with America arriving late as a supporting player. In this war, Germany is fighting America primarily, with Britain as the supporting player. The industrial resources, the manpower reserves, the strategic planning, all are fundamentally American. Britain provides experience, tactical expertise, and forces. But American capacity is the foundation of Allied power in the West. Hitler asks about a separate peace with the Soviet Union. Free Germany to concentrate against the Western Allies, or alternatively, peace with Britain and America, freeing Germany to focus on the Eastern Front. Foreign Minister Ribbentrop, who has joined the briefing, explains that neither option exists. The Allied demand for unconditional surrender is inflexible. The Western powers and the Soviet Union maintain their alliance despite ideological differences. Neither side shows interest in separate negotiations, and even if one enemy could somehow be detached, Ribbentrop continues, fighting the remaining enemies would still exceed German capacity. The Soviet Union alone would require forces Germany no longer possesses. The United States and Britain alone would mean continued attrition Germany cannot sustain. The strategic situation is hopeless regardless of which enemies Germany faces. Hitler retreats into assertions of will. German soldiers are superior to American soldiers. German leadership surpasses Allied command. New weapons under development will shift the balance. The alliance against Germany will fracture under its internal contradictions. But the men in this room have seen the photographs. They've heard the numbers. Superior German soldiers in Normandy are being ground down by overwhelming firepower and complete air dominance. German commanders are being outmaneuvered by American generals who are supposed to be amateurs. The new weapons, jet fighters, improved tanks, V-2 rockets, are either too few, too late, or too limited to change strategic realities. And the Allied alliance shows no signs of fracturing while Germany remains a common enemy. General Walter Warlimont presents captured American planning documents. The Americans intend to land 40 to 50 divisions in France by year's end. These forces will have complete air superiority, overwhelming artillery, and logistics that can sustain offensive operations indefinitely. German forces in France number about 50 divisions, but many are static coastal units with limited combat value. Mobile divisions are being worn down by continuous fighting. Reinforcements cannot offset losses. Meanwhile, American strength in Normandy grows every day. Germany cannot match this build-up while simultaneously defending against Soviet offensives in the east and maintaining forces in Italy, Norway, and the Balkans. Every division sent to France is a division unavailable elsewhere. Every tank allocated to the west is a tank not fighting Soviet armour. Germany is being compressed between two massive Allied forces, and she lacks resources to adequately defend both fronts. The briefing concludes, but its implications will echo through the remaining months of the war. Hitler will never openly acknowledge what he learned on June 22nd. He will continue to speak of victory, of miracle weapons, of enemies who will collapse at any moment. But his behaviour changes. His rages become more frequent. His orders become more desperate. His accusations of treason against his generals multiply. Some historians believe Hitler already knew the war was lost before this briefing. Perhaps. But June 22nd stripped away the last comfortable illusions. The invasion wasn't a British gamble that superior German forces would throw back into the sea. It was an American operation backed by industrial power Germany could not match, could never match, and had no strategy to defeat. The subsequent course of the war confirms what the briefing revealed. American forces in France grow from 600,000 in late June to nearly 2 million by December. American supply tonnage increases monthly. American air power achieves absolute dominance. The breakout from Normandy in late July is led by American forces under Patton, the real Patton, finally released from his role as a decoy commander to lead real armies in real combat. The liberation of Paris in August is accomplished primarily by American and Free French forces. The advance to Germany's borders is driven by American armies that Germany cannot stop or significantly slow. Hitler's final gamble, the Ardennes offensive in December, targets American forces specifically, hoping to split British and American armies and create the political crisis that might fracture the alliance. The offensive fails. American forces absorb the blow and counterattack. American industrial capacity replaces every lost tank, every destroyed aircraft, every expended shell. The mathematics that Speer presented in June prove inexorable. Germany is ground down between American forces in the west and Soviet forces in the east. On April 30th, 1945, less than a year after the June 22nd briefing, Hitler takes his own life in a Berlin bunker. American and Soviet forces are miles away, closing in from opposite directions. The Reich that was supposed to last 1,000 years has barely survived 12. And the cause of its destruction was fundamentally American. The industrial democracy Hitler dismissed in December 1941 when he casually declared war on the United States, confident that a nation of jazz musicians and movie stars could never match German military power. The June 22nd briefing was the day Hitler finally understood his mistake. D-Day wasn't a British operation with American support. It was an American war. And against American industrial capacity, American manpower, and American determination, Germany never had a chance. The man who thought he was fighting Churchill discovered too late that he was fighting Roosevelt, and the 135 million Americans behind him. By the time Hitler realized what he was truly up against, 1 million of them were already in France, and millions more were coming.